They did an audit and they found that.
Yeah, well, that's why.
When you check the
You ready?
so.
Meeting called to order at 7 p.m. Call the roll.
Trustee Carey,
Here.
trustee Haig, trustee Hall,
Here.
trustee Hirschbein,
Here.
trustee Pini,
Here.
trustee Tarno,
Here.
president Kubiak.
Here.
Thank you. We have a quorum.
Okay. We have no public comments tonight, so we're going to move right into the consent agenda. Tonight on the consent agenda, we have the approval of minutes from the village board meeting of February 18th, 2025. The approval of warrant list for March 3rd, 2025 in the amount of $264,447.17. And the consent to the appointment Scott Riddle to the police pension board. Does anyone have any discussion? If not, can I get a motion?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Call the roll.
Trustee Tarno,
Yes.
trustee Pini,
Yes.
trustee Hirschbein,
Yes.
trustee Carey,
Yes.
trustee Hall,
Yes.
trustee Haig. Oh, I'm sorry. Motion carries.
Okay, we're going to move into items for separate action tonight. Item A is the consideration and approval of a public field license agreement with the Northwest Little League for use and maintenance of village property. Andy?
Yes, so this is a continuation from our meeting, prior meeting where we discussed some of the terms, got some direction from the board related to a long-term agreement with the Little League, and I know Mike and Nikki are here tonight if there are any questions. Since then, as you know, I've reached out to board members to get some more feedback. Laura and I have also continued the conversation with the Little League, and tonight we have here, as drafted, a 5-year agreement. With the option, after 5 years, we can get together and continue to extend it if both parties would like to do so. One of the aspects that did come up in this process was the question of availability to the general public of the baseball fields. And after talking with the Northwest Little League, the current plan, if approved by the village board, would be to have the 2 fields in Parkside remain open to the general public when not otherwise being utilized by the Northwest Little League. The language in the agreement is devised to give some flexibility for future changes to that if both parties want to close something up or open something else up if we agree to it. And then the only other thing I would mention on the agreement is that kind of like we had mentioned last time, it would give the village flexibility to utilize the fields for different village events or allow other parties like the HOA to utilize those fields as well, with the stipulation that the fields need to be returned in the condition that they were granted access to. And if there are any questions, I can take them. Or if there's questions for the Little League, Mike and Nikki are here.
I have a question.
Mhm.
At the baseball fields, is there any kind of signage up that says no dogs allowed in that area?
I will answer and then I'll let Pat chime in too. My understanding is that there are, at least at the 4 main ones. I know Public Works is gonna do a sweep to make sure they all do though. Do you
There are
have any
signs
more?
there are signs at every park,
There you go.
3 signs at Parkside, in fact. So however you go into Parkside, if you go in from the back of the pond, there's a sign there. If you go in from the parking lot, there's a sign there. If you go in from the bike path off of Richard J. Brown, there's a sign there stating no dogs in the park. Leashed or unleashed per village ordinance is the way the sign reads. I checked them all the other day. They're all legible. There's 4 signs at the 4 corners of the baseball complex. There's 3 signs at the skate park.
Okay, do we have, and with the ordinance, can we write a ticket if someone's in there with a dog?
Does our ordinance provide for that?
Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm just trying to make sure if they're gonna leave those 2 fields open, that they don't become dog parks. Okay, that was my only question. Does anyone have any other discussion?
I guess just more clarification on the park side. So if the Little League finds that the fields are getting trashed, will they be reaching out to Public Works or staff? And then at that point, who's gonna make that decision if those then would be locked?
Yeah, I think that if they continuously get trashed, let us know and we can see what kind of solutions we can come up with. If we can't, then I think perhaps we would come back to the board just to say to the board, hey, we've talked with the Little League, we've had persistent issues. Is there a desire to close it?
There's no other questions or discussions. Can I get a motion?
I move to approve a public field license agreement with the Northwest Little League for use and maintenance of village property.
Second,
Call the roll.
Trustee Pini,
yes.
trustee Turno,
Yes.
trustee Hall,
Yes.
trustee Carey,
Yes.
trustee Hirschbein.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries.
Moving on to item B, consideration and approval for the purchase of a mobile app software with GoGov for a citizen notification communication system. Laura?
Yes, this agenda item is for the board's consideration in approving a mobile app by GoGov. This would add to our current communication avenues, if you will, with residents. Right now, we use a Facebook, our newsletter, which is printed quarterly, and our website. Unfortunately, Facebook is very limited. It depends on if people are looking at it at the time the posts are put out. Newsletters, of course, are done quarterly, so they're not necessarily timely. And our website is dependent on people actually signing up for our news flash. If we were to do the mobile app, it would be real-time communications. And I think although people would still have to sign up for it, I think people in today's society, if you will, they'd be more apt to download an app. It's easier and more personable on their, smartphones. And generally, everyone already has a smartphone. So I think it would be easier to solicit residents, if you will, to sign up for our mobile app to get the communications. The cost of the agreement is for a 12-month period. And the cost is $4,800 for 12 months. And we were thinking if we could take a look to see how it works in 12 months, see what the feedback is. We can look at how many people are, looking at it, signing up and so forth, and then see if it's worthwhile going forward.
Do we know how many people signed up for that emergency alert app?
No, unfortunately, the Everbridge, that we've tried that in the past, it sounded like it was a great opportunity for us to communicate. Unfortunately, there was a lot of overreach. We got a lot of complaints because people's phone numbers that were in the database for the local area, people moved, say, to Arizona and stuff, and they were getting all these calls and people were getting frantic, especially seniors, because it came up under police instead of like events or something.
Okay.
So it doesn't seem like it was a great use for us. And it was hard to manipulate to ensure we had the right audience. It sounded like a good idea for us, but it just didn't work out.
I would note to that the advantage of the Everbridge is that it allows us to contact people who haven't subscribed. But the downside of that is it's a very wide net. So we try to limit it to the biggest emergencies. And if we had God forbid, some kind of a tornado or something like that, we would do it. But for regular updates or even kind of more minor emergencies, we try to avoid it because we get a lot of.
Well, I wasn't trying to use Everbridge. I was just saying if we could see like if 200 people signed up for that, then similar thing, right? It's an app that I didn't know if we knew how many people were signing up for it to see, kind of gauge it off of that.
I know that.
I know when I looked in the past, when we first started it, it was like 600 to 800 people
Okay.
that we can actually pinpoint that physically signed up on their own versus the whole area reach.
I know that Hampshire uses a similar app for their village and they've seen a lot of success with it and they have good like interaction with residents through
Yeah.
this app.
I like the transparency of it, but, you know, so it's a good idea. I'm just wondering if the village had any kind of idea of how many people they think would do it.
What members of staff would be inputting the information?
Myself and Andy.
Yeah, it'd be primarily Laura. This is kind of more for general updates about, you know, traffic update here or village event here, but in theory, just like with Facebook or the village website, if there's a relevant police update or public works, that would either Chris or Pat could do it or funnel it through Laura.
It also would link to our website too, so people could pay their bill right from the app and things like that. So that's, I think, more convenient than having to go through the website and go through different links.
That was gonna be my next question, like a water bill reminder and.
Yeah, but there's a lot of opportunity, I think, for nice posts, and they would all be concise in one little area instead of having to click to see it and things like that. And people can sign up for notifications if they want to get it directly to their phone, email, or voicemail. They have the opportunity to decide how they want to receive the notifications.
If this is then passed, would we be eliminating the other service that we were utilizing?
No, I think it would just be an additional tool. Of course, our newsletter, unless the consensus were to, stop any of those items. But of course, Facebook, a lot of people still use it. Unfortunately, I'm not sure if you had noticed, out of our almost 12,000 population, there's only 3,000 people that physically have signed up for our Facebook page. And we don't even know if they're residents. A lot of them are businesses in the area and things like that. And unfortunately, only 948 people have signed up to receive our news flash.
You know, I would just mention, and I know the chief could probably speak to this, I believe we're in contract with Everbridge.
We are. I actually put
Yeah.
a note on here to verify exactly how long. I want to say it was a 5-year contract that was signed 2 years ago. I think this would possibly do what we're probably needing to do on it. I can always check and see if the contract can be broken and if we don't need to pay the extra, but I will look into it.
Yeah, I would say at the staff level, we've talked on and off about, do we renew with Everbridge? Do we try to get out of Everbridge? Me personally, I do think that the one advantage to Everbridge is in the case of that real emergency, we can get to people that aren't subscribed to things. But other than that, we don't utilize it. So that I think there's probably some more analysis to go into, but we have talked about, is this something we look to cancel in the future with Everbridge?
Okay.
If there's no other discussion, can I get a motion?
I move to approve the purchase of a mobile application software system through GoGov for citizen notifications.
I'll second.
Call the roll.
Trustee Hirschbein,
Yes.
trustee Hall,
Yes.
trustee Pini,
Yes.
trustee Charno,
Yes.
trustee Carey. Yes. Thank you. Motion carries.
Okay. Item C is the consideration and approval of a resolution authorizing a second amendment to the 2014 use and license agreement for the Pingree Grove Community Park Project with the Forest Preserve District of Kane County. Andy?
Yes, so in 2014, the village entered into a license agreement with the Kane County Forest Preserve. And the agreement was for the permission to construct and utilize park improvements on Forest Preserve property at the Pingree Grove Forest Preserve, located on the south side of the village, kind of near the Heritage District. As the time has gone by, nothing was ever moved on regarding the original park concept. And more recently, the village has kind of started some preliminary discussions about future park planning, park amenities, as well as really taking a look into exploring financing mechanisms to fund those parks. And so President Kubiak and staff discussed the possibility of extending the term of the license agreement for this property. We discussed those terms with the Forest Reserve, which they were pretty easygoing and quick to grant our request for an extended license. And so what this amendment here would do would be to extend the license period. Right now, the original term goes to 2034. This would extend the license period for another 25 years from today, so until 2050. And it is important to note that this amendment, one, it does not obligate the village to construct the park. And two, this is something that is currently being discussed as in part of our budget talks with all the board members, which is still an ongoing thing. And I know there's a lot of opinions, a lot of varying opinions about it. Do we like it? Do we want to do it? Do we want to defer? Things all across the board, but this is really just to extend the term of the license and to replace the old plan with a new preliminary plan. And we've talked with the Forest Reserve about, say, we want to change things in the future, do a new design or change this preliminary design. That's something they're open to. But I know there's a lot of feelings or a lot of different thoughts about this, so I will open it up to questions or any discussion.
Is the Forest Preserve giving us any indication that they want to do anything with this land? I mean, I see they just keep giving it back to us, but.
No, so they have just like all government entities, they have limited funds. I think that they like in general this kind of concept. For one, the bill, it's not them having to pay for it, but it's still an amenity that brings people to their properties.
Yeah.
I know they have similar arrangements in the area. I know City of Elgin, I think, has some baseball fields in one of Forest Preserves. So no, they don't have any plans to do anything with this land.
Have they ever tried to reach out for, let's say, a grant? I don't know if they get them easier than, let's say, we do.
I don't believe so, no.
Okay. So they don't want to do anything. If we want to do it, it's all on us.
That's, I think that's the arrangement they would like, yes.
Okay.
I would just like to point out that the Forest Preserve is not Pingree Grove land. So this came about in 2017 and it wasn't approved then. We do have this in our budget. And I think that money could be better well served by we have multiple open land area within our community. So investing that land rather than investing it in property that does not belong to us.
So this lease doesn't require us to build anything on there, right? I mean, we're not voting on that because, I mean, we talked about, I mean, I kind of feel like Joe in a way, but I'd like to make sure that we're gonna get use out of it.
Yeah, this license update does not obligate us to build it. It just, it extends the term. It does revise the preliminary plan from the 2014 version, but it doesn't obligate us to build it.
Is there a restriction on an amount of years we could do it? Like say if we want to do something crazy like 100 years and then we might as well just say it is kind of ours.
I don't know. We could broach that with them I think when we initially started talking to them, we were talking 15 and then we said, hey, why don't we ask for 10 more and 25 came out. So I don't know if they would do 100 years, but we can talk about that. And like, I had mentioned when we brought this up to them about extending it, they were pretty nonchalant about it. So I don't think they have any plans to.
That's what I mean. Like, so if we go, let's say 25 years, whatever, we make the investment, now they decide they want it. We just basically get them free upgrades where they may start charging people. I don't know. I'm just saying.
No, I get what you're saying.
100 years, that more than takes care of me.
Okay.
I don't know, 50.
I think they're just looking for partnerships because as we all know, state fundings continue to go. And unfortunately, Forest Preserve is one of them that, they're
Yeah.
losing officers. They're not getting the money that they used to years ago for improvements at all.
They did get a referendum though, didn't they? When that was passed? I mean, I'm okay with doing the 25 year now and see if they want to extend it maybe you know, if they want to plant trees, I just, to me, I think they should do something for it.
We could table this and Andy and I could go back to them and try to renegotiate if you guys want us to see if we could extend the lease to 50 or 100 years. See if we could get them to partner with us on something. Doesn't hurt to ask and see
Yeah.
what they come back with. So why don't we table this? Andy and I will go back to the Forest Preserve and see what else we can find on it.
Motion to table.
Second.
Call the roll.
Trustee Hall,
Yes.
trustee Pini,
Yes.
trustee Hirschbein,
Yes.
trustee Tarnow,
Yes.
trustee Carey.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries.
Item D is the consideration and approval of change order number 1 for the 2024 MFT Road Resurfacing Program, reducing the contract price by $133.96. Andy?
Yes, so after much waiting from the contractor, we've arrived at this day. And as President Kubiak mentioned, there is two agenda items here. One is a final change order to rectify the actual quantities of materials used on the project with the quantities that were estimated. And it was a pretty close estimation. And so the change order is for a deduction of $133.96. And then the second item on the agenda is the final pay application for the program in the amount of $79,313.76. Is there any questions?
Can I get a motion?
I move to approve change order number 1 for the 2024 MFT Road Resurfacing Program, reducing the contract price by $133.96. And I also move to approve pay application number 2 for the 2024 MFT Road Resurfacing Program in the amount of $79,313.76.
I will second.
Call the roll.
Trustee Hall,
Yes.
trustee Carey,
Yes.
trustee Tarnow,
Yes.
trustee Pini,
Yes.
trustee Hirschbein.
Yes.
Okay, we're gonna go into staff reports. Mine's up first. Andy and I are going to Springfield Wednesday and Thursday this week. If there is anything you want us to talk to our lawmakers about, please let me know ahead of time tonight after the meeting. We met with commercial developers today and they have a plan to bring before the board within the next couple meetings. So something fun to look forward to. That's all I have. Andy?
Yes, I just will give one quick update. As we continue to move through our budget process and budget meetings, we've gotten a lot of good feedback so far. Our final 2 meetings at the staff level with trustees are this coming Friday. After that time, I will compile a list of questions and feedback from all the trustees. I will work with the department heads and then we will send out a comprehensive update to the board, as well as a revised budget based upon that consensus. And that's all I have right now.
Chief?
Thank you. So I have a couple things, but the first one I'm going to start with is the 2024 annual report, which you all have in your packet. I want to highlight just a few things. 2024 was a very good year for the police department. There was a lot of good things that happened, and we wanted to show the change that we have gone through in the last couple of years. So on page 4 to start with is our current roster minus the 3 new people that were just hired because they were hired technically on the 30th of December. They will be in next year's budget. But as you can see, our staff is growing quite a bit. This year was the first year also that we did professional photography for the officers. We have that picture actually hanging in our department, and we also have one for administration as well. But you can see that the officers here that are listed also have their start dates on there. So you can see that we do have a young department, but we have a lot of expectations for where we're going. Page 6, I have listed in there that we were number 4 in the safest cities in Illinois. So you know that that is actually done by a realtor. And there's no real set way to either get on that list or not, just so you're aware. The number one on there is Campton Hills. When I talked to that chief, I am the one to let him know that he was on it. So he made sure that he was very big on that, at his meeting. So, but we plan on hopefully staying on that for years to come. Page 7, our call volume did go down quite a bit. And just for a couple hundred calls, but our calls actually increased for the type of calls we've been going to as well. But there was a 7.8% increase in reported crime. That is in the stats that are coming up. And we've investigated another 11.5% of cases than we hadn't done in the past. Speaking of which, on page 12 is our comparison, our investigation courses. So we actually have 2 people who are kind of assigned to investigations right now. We're gonna put on a third with the anticipation of losing one in the next fiscal year. That way they can get trained. But our cases, we are starting to investigate more cases. We are getting more financial cases as well. That has taken up a lot of time. But as you can see that between last year and this year, we have a significant increase of what we're spending our time on. And they are monitored and checked on a regular basis. We know that we're not wasting our time. There are stuff that needs to be done. Some cases are found to be unfounded or transferred to other agencies, but there is a list of the cases that we decided that we wanted to share with you. Some important ones that kind of came up over the time. These are definitely not all of them, but they're just the ones that we thought were probably most important to discuss. Page 17, vehicle crash statistics. This is the one that everyone's really concerned about. So crashes have gone up a little bit, as you can see. We were lucky that we did not have a true fatality in 2024, unlike the 2 years prior to. The next page on that will show that this is the second year in a row that Thursdays are the most common for crashes. And it's kind of odd. Most people think there would be a weekend, but the stats don't lie. And it's, as you can see, it's kind of well-rounded. But Thursdays were the days that most people get in car crashes. So page 20, the arrests, as you can see, our arrests did go down, but the type of arrests that we've been handling have changed over the years. We have your basic criminal, like Illinois Vehicle Code violations, suspended drivers and stuff, but we've also increased with a few other things. The unlawful possession of a firearm without a FOID. That's a new thing with Karina's law as well, that we are going to more training. Violations of order protections. We've had multiple ones of those. Sexual assault cases, domestic batteries, things like that. The stats are in there prior to, so you can read to see the differences. But as you can see, we are still on an upward trend for the last 5 years. And I'm very proud on page 21 to talk about our fleet. Many years I have gone and explained that we needed a new fleet. We now do. We have a very good fleet, and our numbers, as you can see with the mileage, they have gone down significantly, and the cars have less problems. We have a anomaly here or there, of course, but as you can see that the cars that are being used are not being used at a 24-hour basis anymore. They get some downtime, therefore it kind of cuts down the wear and tear. At this time, with the addition of the new car that is coming in, there'll be 2 people assigned to each car, so we know exactly who's driving it, and it takes away from the wear and tear of 15 people driving the same kind of car. They all drive differently. Now we have it so there's 2 people in a car. They are responsible for the car and the equipment in it, and things are being tracked and things are getting taken care of a lot better now. Our records request on page 22, as you can see that FOIAs and requests from the state's attorney's office and backgrounds and DCFS have gone up. We get multiple of these a week, and my staff is doing this on a constant basis. Everything that has to come out has to be redacted if they don't go to either courts, cops, or corrections. And that means the reports have to be gone through, names, date of births, juvenile information has to be removed. It's very time consuming. DCFS they ask for things in 5-year increments. So we have to go back 5 years. And right now we're running 2 different systems because we transitioned last year. So it takes up even some. Some backgrounds are going on for 7 years. We got to go back for when people are asking about job interviews. So they do take up some time. Page 23, we do have the community events. Police Department does a handful of events throughout the year. I'm going to call it more than a handful. As you can see, these are the events that we are in, and we are planning to add a couple more coming up. There's some photos of us on some of them that you can see that we are trying to be very involved in the community, and we want the community to be involved with us. Page 25, I have a couple acknowledgements. We welcome back Officer Jack Farron from the military. He spent most of 2023 overseas as the National Guard. He came back in January of 2024, and he has been welcomed back with much gratitude as we needed him. So we gave a little welcome back for him in this. And then the next page is going to be 2 sergeants that actually attended a Northwestern School for Public Safety. They took the very first class for supervision for police personnel, which is required. Sergeant Jensen will be attending for free the School for Staff and Command in this fall. That'll be the next step for him. And then the other sergeants will go to that course as we go further on. Page 12 is the training, or page 27, I'm sorry, is training. So training is very important right now, being that there are tons of state mandates which are unfunded. This is why our training budget has to be so high. We have to meet certain criterias. If the officers do not make that criteria, they can be considered ineligible and cannot work. So that's what the state has started now. I have on the next page the list of the classes that are done, and it shows annual, 3 years mandates, 5-year mandates. They are going to be done for in 3-year increments by alphabetical order. I meet with the Illinois Training Standards Board every quarter, and this is the second year now that they've told me that we are at 100% compliance because we keep up with our training. So our officers are up to date. We send them updates and they take the classes, then we send them to, and they are up on that. Something new on page 33, we were told, it was recommended that we put in 2 more addition, which is a pursuit statistics and the use of force statistics that are coming up. Both of those things are unavoidable in our job, and we limit those as much as possible, but they are all reviewed and checked for policy and procedures and any violations. This is to show transparency that even though things do happen, that we are checking to make sure everything is there. As you can see, there was only 2 technical pursuits, with one lasting 5 minutes, one lasting 1 minute. Okay. The next page is the use of force. We also added up a little bit what each one was for. A use of force can be anything. As you can see, there is non-deadly, less lethal force where you can use a taser. Any injuries reported and things like that. They're broken down by the months. And we have a quick description of the ones that we did investigate and found that no one was at any fault. And that's pretty much it. You guys can have a fun time reading that. This is something that we plan to do every year. And if you guys have any questions or have any concerns, you can always ask and I will do my best to answer them. The other 2 updates I have, 1, this Sunday, the police department is taking part in the first time the Polar Plunge for Special Olympics. Myself and 3 other individuals from my department will be jumping into the Fox River. I'm glad that the weather's a little nicer this week, but we jump in. We have collected donations for that, and all the money goes to Special Olympics of Illinois. Our department hasn't taken part in this in the past. We are actually jumping on with St. Charles Police Department, and there's for now because there is a lot to get it started up for your own leg. So we're excited to do that for the first time. We're hoping that's going to be an annual thing. Secondly, I had a discussion with the village manager regarding this. The alarm system that we have in the building that we just installed, the keyless entry and the panic alarm system. It came to our attention that we don't have anything for up here. We have a light in the finance director's office, but that's about it. I've recommended that we have a few more things put in. One of them would be a panic button, would be probably on the wall behind me. If something should happen, we need to alert that something's going on. The panic buttons are all sitting downstairs. There is no one down there right now to set those off. Now, yes, I am sitting here. There will, if I'm not here, there will be a member of a police department here. But if something does go wrong, you want to have an ability to hit an alarm to have something. In order to have that up here, we have to be able to get it shut off as well. So a panic alarm keypad up here as well, kind of like this is going to mirror the one that's in the downstairs. It would be an addition to put in. And we just think it's for the safety, not only for when we have these meetings, but when people do use this room, there's got to be something in order to be able to show if there is a problem up here, if the Boy Scouts are up here, if the library's up here doing something. If they're not going to be downstairs, no one's up here reporting anything. So we're asking to see if we can talk about if we want to add the additional security. The last part would also be add one more keyless entry on a back door at the back of the back of this building. If the panic alarm goes off, my officers are not coming through the front door. We're gonna come through the back. I have a procedure written out, but right now we have to use a key, which none of our we have a separate key that opens up that the officers have to dig through the squad to get them. We would like to set up the key, one more keyless access in the back that our key card would open to get us into the building. We can get through the entire place except for the back. And there's only two on the outside. And if we come in, the way this building is sit, it's actually sunk into the ground. Everyone can see the cars come up and down. If there is a problem, we want to come through the back and we want to be able to be into the station or into this building without causing a scene up front. So that's something else that would like to be considered. And instead of writing up a board meeting thing on this, I was just asked to bring it up during my talk to see if this is something that you guys would understand, or if we wanted to move forward on it. We can start getting the additional costs and stuff like that if this is something we're interested in. It was just something that wasn't, when we were putting it together, it was something we kind of missed and we didn't see until afterwards.
All right, go ahead and get the costs on that, Chris, and we'll
Thank
go
you.
from there.
That's all I have.
All right, thank you. Albert, what have you got for us?
How can I possibly follow that up with anything financially remotely as nice as that? I don't have anything.
Okay, Nick?
Well, I am going to follow up on that something a little bit. I just wanted to provide a brief update for where we are with the TIF eligibility study. Had a lot of good meetings with SB Friedman over the past few weeks, providing them any data that they may need. They're sharing preliminary thoughts with us, been working with Zach and Fair Graham. So we're moving along with that process at a good pace. Currently, SB Friedman is finalizing the proposed boundaries of the TIF district. We and SB Friedman anticipate to have a first draft of the report by the end of March. At that point, if we have any questions that the board has or staff, will work with them to get those resolved. The report would be finalized in early April. The village board would then adopt an ordinance setting the time and place for the joint review board meetings as well as the public hearings in late April. We would have the notice and do the meetings. The joint review board meeting would happen in mid-May. We'd send more notices, do more newsletters. The public hearing would then happen in mid-June. And then following that, we would actually adopt the TIF in late June or early July. And this is just the tentative outline of the remaining schedule in the process. As always, if there's any questions about the TIF, feel free to send them my way. But so far, I've been very pleased with SB Friedman and very excited for this.
Good news. Thanks, Nick. Pat, do you have anything for us?
I don't have a lot. Today while they were excavating in a temporary discharge pipe for the plant, they came across a pipe that wasn't on the prints. Staff spent about an hour trying to figure out what it was, and it was garbage buried, but it was buried in such a way that it looked like it was going somewhere and had something in it potentially. We drilled a hole first to see that it was empty, and then they cut the pipe out of the way because it was a 20-foot section of pipe that they buried. So other than that, the project is going along soon. I'll have a memo for the next meeting. majority of the structures are well underway on site. There's a few left that they're, working on the concrete, but we're getting to the point where they're gonna start pulling buildings out and repurposing buildings or replacing equipment. So one of them, and I'll discuss it more in detail with a memo next week, is the sand filter building, which is our last line of defense for filtering water before it goes out the door. And so we've been doing several things up to this sampling earlier in the plant, and we believe it won't be a problem. The biggest thing it could potentially affect is irrigation, and we've got a plan for that too. So as I get the rest of my answers, I'll come back to you with that. Other than that, unless anybody has any questions for me, I don't have anything else to say.
Thanks, Pat. Zach, do you have anything for us tonight?
Yeah, I got a couple project updates. Obviously, after tonight, the paperwork side for the village, the 24 MFT project, we can get that closed out with IDOT, so that'll be good. For the 2025 MFT project, we submitted that at the end of last week to get that on IDOT's queue. Usually the last couple of years for these MFT projects, they take around 2 weeks to review those. So that would keep us on pace to have something ready for bid towards the end of the month, to keep us on track there. The roundabout project, the Ranking and Damish, everything from the public information meeting we had after the couple week waiting period for more comments, that was all resubmitted to IDOT. Have not heard back from them yet on that front, but we did receive about a week and a half ago, some comments on the hydraulics, which in talking to the project team, we should have resubmitted by middle to end of this week. And I've talked to Andy as well about maybe trying to get some push on the village side too. That way they don't have any reason to say something else is in their way of approving it. So, but yeah, those are the two active ones that we're moving forward on right now.
All right, thanks, Zach. Okay. Michael, do you have anything for us?
Just working with staff on a few projects that I hope come before the village board in the next few weeks, and that's it unless anybody has any questions for me.
Laura, do you have anything for us?
I just wanted to inform that the Community Events Committee will hold its first committee meeting on March 11th at 6 p.m. And letters were sent out last week seeking sponsors for our events for the entire year. And already we have $2,750 that came in.
That's good news.
That's it. Thank you.
Fire, do you have anything for us tonight? Okay. Does anyone have any old or new business?
I have new business. I guess it's just a request, so we're obviously in budget season, going over all that. And just unfortunately seeing things on social media that it gets brought up again about our taxes. And I guess what I'm looking for is, when we're finally done with our budget, if we can put something out, whether it's on social media itself or it goes on our next newsletter. But I think it's important because that people within this community understand where our tax dollars are going, because I really feel there's a large percentage of residents that don't know. So for example, that most residents don't know that out of all the municipalities in Kane County, we are the lowest taxing town in the entire county. So it just can sometimes be frustrating that it's brought up several times, thinking, where's all my tax dollars going? And it's, if you kind of look at your tax bill, you can see where it's going, but so people understand that, what SSA 2 and how we cut SSA 4 and SS 9 in half, and eventually it's going to be completely eliminated. But
Next year.
so yeah, something that showing more transparency.
I agree. Andy and I had talked about also doing a property tax workshop for residents where we could bring in some of the taxing bodies and have them talk about where your tax dollars are going. So not just from us, because we can tell you where our tax, but having everybody come in. So we're talking about putting that together, but I think having something just like a tax bill, it's pretty easy to block out names and show, this is where everything is going. It's not a bad idea. We can work on that.
Any update on the 20 and Ranking roundabout, with Spring Fast around the corner?
Nothing concrete. They are still working through some utility relocations. To my understanding, the last of it was related to NICOR. The village was involved somewhat in that because one of the relocates that they wanted to do was to relocate in a location that was too close to a water main. So we told them no, and they revised what they were looking to do, NICOR, and resubmitted, and in the resubmittal, they were adequately far enough away. We gave them the go-ahead. That was just last week. NICOR, Zach can go into the details, but anyways, they dragged their feet for a long time. And we gave them a go-ahead last week on our end. And last communication Friday, I had reached out to the project engineer for an updated timeline because he kept telling me that it was dependent upon the utilities getting straightened out, that then they could get a timeline from the contractor and then let us know about the when the detour will go into effect. So to be determined, but to my knowledge, I think we're getting there where we're actually will start getting some concrete timelines from them.
Okay, if there's nothing else, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Moved.
Okay.
Call the roll?
Was that trustee Hall on second?
Yeah.
Yes.
Trustee Carey?
Yes.
Trustee Hirschbein?
Yes.
Trustee Tarnow?
Yes.
Trustee Peony?
Yes.
Trustee Hall?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries.